time for Hobby Quick Hits. Hobby Quick Hits. A sports card podcast where we tackle the hobby's hottest topics in depth to help you navigate the sports card landscape and enjoy the hobby we all love. Here's your host, John Newman.
My hitting style, if I had to describe it, would be, an inside-out swing. Try to hit the ball to right center every time. In high school, I was straight pull. My high school coaches came out to me and said, hey, mixing something to right field. And, I just always try to work on it. When I was a kid, I didn't have any of this stuff. And if I had it, it definitely put me a step above a lot of players.
The gentleman you just heard there is a step above a lot of players. Arguably the best player in Major League Baseball currently. He's 29 years old. Prior to the 2021 season, he has 302 home runs, a 304 lifetime batting average, 582 slugging percentage, 798 ribbies. He's a 3-time MVP, a Rookie of the Year, 8-time Silver Slugger, and a 2-time All-Star MVP. You probably know who I'm talking about, but I'll say his name, Mike Trout. And I don't think anyone will argue too much that he's currently the Major League's best player, a transitional talent. When all's said and done, he's going to be arguably one of the greatest ever to play it. I know there's some that like to argue Mookie Betts or even Fernando Tatis, Ronald Acuna Jr. or Juan Soto, but right now, Mike Trout wears the crown. So what is this episode about? Well, it's not a fluff piece to tell you how great Mike Trout is. I think we all know that. What I get a lot on some DMs and PMs is, questions like, can I still buy Mike Trout and do well? Can I, for those that sell cards, whether you do that or not, a lot of people do, myself included. And folks know that I do that, so they will often ask my opinion. Is it too late to kind of buy into Mike Trout? His prices are pretty high. His stuff's expensive. Should I look elsewhere to maybe, make some money from down the line from card sales? And so that's what this episode's really going to tackle. And first off, the short answer is yes, Mike Trout still has a ceiling. But, the more expensive or the more popular a player is, that ceiling is, very close to being kind of capped. But, even in those situations, there are certain cards that you can still get in on with more ceiling to go. And we're going to kind of talk about some of that stuff during this episode. Not going to be a long episode. We're going to kind of just tackle this and call it a day. But, so the question I get is, John, Mike Trout's stuff's going crazy. His Bowman Chrome Superfractor just went for $4.6 million. Obviously, that's a 1-of-1. That's a rare, super high-end. But, we've seen his Topps update in the last year really go to another level. And, the question I get is there another level, John, or is that the level? And, it's so hard to say. It's all speculation, as we all know. Specifically with the update, the Topps update, 2011, I think there's still room to move, but let's be real, there's a lot of those cards, right? There's 25,000 of those graded, and there's 15,000 of them graded out at 10s. And that's just the one card. Another question I get from folks is, what are the negatives to Mike Trout? Like, if you have to worry about anything, what is it? And it's a short answer, really. One thing's injury, but that applies to everyone. So let's toss that aside. The thing that makes me a little concerned with Mike Trout, I really wish he didn't sign that long-term 10-year deal with the Angel. They've really not done him any favors surrounding him with much talent. And that lack of talent, it's not his fault. This dude's a guy that wins MVPs and probably could arguably be the MVP every year. It's not his fault. But that lack of a talent around him has caused him not to make the postseason. He's got no postseason, hardly any postseason exposure, no rings. And we know how that affects value, i.e. Tom Brady and many others. When you win a championship, when you win a ring, that, sets your mystique, your aura on a different level in the hobby. And so Trout right now doesn't have that. Can it happen? Sure. He's got 12 more years of probably good, solid MVP type baseball. But I still don't see the Angels making any sort of real postseason run. I think they'll be a little bit better this year. And so my fear, I don't want to say fear, maybe that's too strong a word. My concern is, Mike Trout might play 20, 22 years and have very little postseason resume to speak of. And maybe no rings, right? And unless he, towards the back end of his career, jumps on a team that's close or the favorite and sort of gets a cheap ring, what some people would say then. And so that's the biggest downside, if you ask me, to Mike Trout right now. And that can change. The Angels could start spending money, drafting great, and we'll be singing a different song. But as it currently stands, I think that's going to be the one thing that might hurt his values, short of an injury. He's not going to drop off in productivity-wise, to tell you the truth. And so it's just a matter of that lack of postseason success. Now some of his cards, when we're talking about ceiling, some of his cards are already way up there. When you get into the high-end stuff, can you make money? Yeah. You can, because I think that stuff's going to continue to go up. We see what stuff's doing on those auctions levels, breaking all sorts of records. I think there's going to be more Trout record-breaking cards in the years to come, and even past that point. But again, if you're going to have to spend that money to get to that level. So it's the question: do you want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe even $1 million, if you're in that atmosphere to begin with, to purchase those cards that might make you some money down the line? Let's talk more realistically with probably most people who are listening to this that aren't going to be buying cards for $1 million or six figures necessarily. What cards not on that level? Well, you still got the 2011 Topps update. I know what I just said about it a few minutes ago. I think there's still room there. Obviously, again, he's got 10 to 15 years of ball playing left. And so, I think there's definitely room. I think there's room on all his cards, but I think on some there's not as much. And so, do you want to, put your money in that, put him away, and then wait? Someone like myself doesn't mind doing that, and I do that with more than just Mike Trout. I do that with a lot of different players. I call it marinating. We even termed it. It's a cooking term, but I use it in the hobby as far as buying stuff, just kind of putting away, putting it on the shelf. I do it with wax too. So if you have patience, you can make some money with Mike Trout. And I have a lot of Mike Trout stuff too. As far as advice on what to buy, I don't like to do that all the time because, as I've always said, there's no experts in this industry, just people with experience. That's different. I would buy, this isn't just really strictly pertaining to Mike Trout, but, low number parallels. If you can get his rookie cards, you can get it in a deal for sure. Be careful when you do purchase Mike Trout rookie cards. There are a lot of Fugazis out there. a lot of fakes. I'm at the point now when I purchase stuff with Trout rookies, unless it's graded, I almost avoid it. You probably heard me tell the story already. I had an acquaintance of mine purchased 10 Trout updates, and 7 of them turned out to be Fugazis, not real. I don't think the seller who sold it to him, the person who sold it to him, knew it. I think it was like he got kind of duped, and then in turn, duped my dealer friend. 3 of them were genuine, and 7 weren't. But, that's the risk you take. The more valuable a card or player is, you're starting to see counterfeits. And, they sell them on eBay, too. If you do, like, they call them reprints or RPs. I can't believe eBay allows it. I think that's wrong. I don't think they should. But that's where they're at. And it's a lot of Mike Trout RPs, And not on just some of the bigger cards you would expect them to be, like the Bowman Chrome Auto, a lot of the autos, the 2011 update. But some other cards I was surprised to see that they made fake copies of that aren't in that sort of level. So, there's almost reprints or Fugazis on a lot of cards now that you wouldn't normally think so. And so that's where the market is. Anytime you got money involved, people can be unscrupulous. Even the people on eBay, there's very fine, in the title says RP, short for reprint. But to a mom or someone who's not super familiar with the hobby, that's just looking to buy a certain Mike Trout card, they may see that and think it's the real McCoy and say, wow, that's a great price, and buy it. And, I seen a Bowman Chrome Auto, the famous cards, $10,000 if not more. And I seen reprint copies, $150. They're not worth $150, right? They're fakes. They're probably not even worth the paper they're printed on. But to someone on eBay that sees that card, says, wow, that's a steal. Buy it now. Probably going to get roped in there. That's why I can't believe eBay allows it. I wish they were more on top of that and cracking down on that stuff. But, no, not to be. So, be careful when you're buying ungraded Mike Trouts. There are a good percentage of them may not be genuine. So I'm at the point now, if I buy any of his rookie stuff, it's usually graded, or I'm very familiar with who I'm buying it from and confident that that's not going to be an issue. And know the person where, if it was an issue, it come to find out later, I can go back to him and say, hey, man, I'm not saying you did this on purpose, but come to find out this. And so, we could work that out. Never had an issue like that, but I just keep that in the back of my mind. So, kind of coming down, bringing this episode to a close. Trout's got a lot of good years ahead of him. Can the Angels change their fortune around with some better signings, maybe better drafting? Sure. Can Mike Trout maybe leave or force his way out of there? It's not his normal MO. He's a pretty quiet, just does his talking with his play type of guy. But, it'll be interesting to see how his career tracks. And as far as, buying Trouts to later on maybe profit from them, for sure. And I think that's the key, is the 2 words I use, later on. I think, if you don't mind, again, buying some stuff, acquiring some stuff, and just kind of putting it in a box, putting it away, putting it on display, however you choose, with maybe the intent to later on when it appreciates. I think if you go in with that mindset, that approach, no, it's not too late. If you're looking sort of for a quick flip, I don't know. His prices are already way up there now. I think it's going to take time for you to again, get some ROI or bang for your buck, as they say. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I may do these type of player-focused ones, with cards, as I get, he's a guy I get a lot of questions on, and so I wanted to kind of just take this time to do sort of an episode and encompass a lot of the questions I get about him. I may do that with certain guys in the future, as if I feel the need arises. So let me know what you thought of the episode. Give us some feedback, comments, maybe any question, maybe a future episode of Hobby Quick Hits you want to hear, similar to this one, or something else. We do requests. All right. That being said, I hope you stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you next Monday on Hobby Quick Hits. Hey folks, thanks for listening to the show. Wanted to give out our social media links where you can follow the show even when you're not listening to it. On Twitter, we are at Hits Hobby, HitsHobby, HITSHOBBY. On Instagram, we are at Hobby Quick Hits Podcast, at Hobby Quick Hits Podcast, all one word. Our website is www.sportscardnation.net. Look for the link to Hobby Quick Hits. You'll find us there. And you can always text us on our text line, area code 315-491-0239.
In case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.